Okay, I am back and we are going to start tutorial number 2. Sorry if I'm a little quiet, my kids are sleeping or going to sleep. Um, so now we are going to attempt to make something sort of like Advanced Wars, Warcraft, um, where you're going to try and build a base, create units, and the enemy won't necessarily have a base. We might try and do something like that, but it's more focused on what you're able to make and then defend against the enemy. So, here we go. Uh, Brand new project in SRPG Studio. I'm going to start by saving the project, and we're going to call this. I'm going to call it Ilia Wars. Ilia is a location in Arc Brigade. It is the human country. So I'm probably going to end up using some of my assets for that, but for now we are going to start with SRPG Studio assets, the default stuff. So first you got to get more used to the UI. So over here shows what maps you have available. I'm going to copy and paste to have at least 3 maps. Okay, I like to have an introduction, like cutscene map, the actual level, and then an ending to the level cutscene. So I will call this Introduction for right now. We could change the name later. So we have all grass. Up here you can see there's multiple options: open map, database, animations, recollection events, story settings, base settings, and test play. So if you were to open the map, all these buttons are still available within the map. So I'm going to just hit open map. Now if you are looking for all those things, you can see right here: database, animations, recollection events, story events, base settings, and test play. So all those are within the map. As you can see right here, it says Chapter 1 Introduction, and we have new settings up here that we can go through, or toggles, whatever you want to call them. Back to the top pulls you out of the map. Edit map lets you actually change the tile sets. Unit mode is how you're going to be affecting all your units. Event mode is for creating events that do special things, such as that fire attack or whatever. Reinforcements is when enemies appear on the map after the initial deployment. Map information is probably one of the first things we're going to go into. That lets you change the size of the map and a bunch of stuff. And then map test lets you play test the map. So right here, this lets you go in to see kind of the different enemies. You got regular enemies that are already on the map, event enemies that appear through events, allies. So those are the green units. They start on the map. You can add green units onto the map. Reinforcements are units that they're like your generic units. They're not ones that are specifically created for individual locations, and you can just create swordsmen, and you'll put one swordsman in here, and then you will always be able to call that swordsman, and it will create a new instance of that swordsman. It's not like you're creating a named unit like Isaac, and Isaac is a specific person. You don't have 1,000 Isaacs. You just have one Isaac. Reinforcements are more for like you have swordsmen, bowmen, things like that, which is what mostly this game is probably going to be using, that type of thing. Guests are player controlled units that aren't in your continuing party. That's more for like Fire Emblem, Shining Force type things, where your characters continue. You have like characters that continue, and then you might have one unit that you control for that level. And then you have event guests that appear through events. And then bookmark is where if you have units on one map and you want to bring them to other ones, you copy and paste them into the bookmarked area, and then when you go to another map, you can go back into the bookmarked area and then copy and paste them into these locations. Okay, so let's take a look at map information. I forget the size I normally like for maps, especially for 720p, so I'm just going to open up my other game and see what I liked as the normal sized. Let's see what I got. I think 39 by 22. Was that the size I want? I think that is. Oop, that's loud. I'm going to turn that down. So 39 by 22, that is something that fills the screen, but and you don't have to move it around. So that's kind of just everything is on one screen. So 39 by 22, I'm going to pull that over to this map. So we're going to go 39 by 22. Now, looking through all this, you can put a little icon for this map. We could put it as this icon. It'll have this icon. It's named introduction. I don't know what map name is specifically, so we'll call this level 1. And you give it a description. This is the starting map. Okay, so going through this is the size and height. You can give it a chapter number. This is important. Display battle prep. That means when you get to this map, you will have that screen where it shows the map, and then you can go manage, like configuration, fight, all those kind of things. If you skip this, it'll just go straight into the map and you start. Max units. I'm going to move this from 5 down to 1 for what we're doing. Fixed units. So for my idea, I think I always want to start with what your equivalent to be with like a headquarters or a town hall or something like that. So I'm going to create one unit that's going to carry through. I guess it's going to be called whatever that new unit is. Map color, you can add like tints. Like if I were to go to evening, it's going to make things look a little bit darker, or I guess a little bit more yellow orange, like dusk. And then you have night, that should make things more blue, something like that. But we'll go back to day. Map scroll, so that means if you look in the beginning of a map, let me see if this actually plays out because I only have one unit into it. You see how it's scrolling around? Why is it being so big? Oh, I think I know why. One of the things I like to do is I go, I believe, to tools. This is just a one-off. Options. Oh no, wrong part. I want to go to database and then config 2 up here. And I'm going to make the resolution 1280 by 720. I like it a little bit more zoomed out. But if you like it more zoomed in, you can move it in. Use that smaller resolution. Now let's see. See, now you can see the entire map like this. It depends. It's just your personal preference. Do you prefer it more zoomed out? Do you want it to be more zoomed in? Okay, so this is that one selection thing I was talking about. Units manage, info, fight, and save. So you can see what the map looks like. So back here, that was the display battle prep. That was the battle prep part. Map scrolls around it if the map is big. Fixed background. I think this is more for when two characters fight. It does that one scene, but I'm going to be getting rid of that. If test members is you can create units specifically for testing that map. Um, so we have new unit right here. Has all this information. Um, Sometimes you'll use that, sometimes you won't. We'll figure it out. Test difficulty, new difficulty. I haven't really messed with difficulties too much. Sortie restriction, that makes it so this unit has to be placed into a certain spot, and only that unit. Victory conditions, this isn't going to trigger, this is just for you to describe what you have triggered in your map. So, like, for example, I could say the end of the world, but unless you trigger the end of the world in the map, it doesn't matter. This is just writing some words for you to see. So here, let me write that there. Now let me go to map test. And info is nothing. Let me go back. Try and remember where I change all that stuff. Command layout? Is it command layout? Yes. So if you see battle prep, I can put objective. This is, you have a whole bunch of stuff in here you can add, but right now objective is under hide. I can do it, make it only show up when you're test playing, or I can make it tied to a switch. If I have it tied to a switch, I'll introduce those later. But or I can have it always display data. So I'm going to put it on always display data, and hopefully it'll allow us to check the objective. So now we have objective. It shows a character and victory conditions at the end of the world. So that's how you can add those in. Okay, so I want to back out of that. Okay. So now what's the next? We were back in map information. Same thing for defeat conditions. The world is saved. I guess we're the bad guys. Okay, so map music. You can change, like for the player phase, you can have one set of music, and you can change that in here. Like, you can hear that. Enemy phase 1. Stop. And that's where you can change the music for your map. Okay. You can say this is normal, side quest, or quest. Custom parameters, don't know what that does. Shift map. So let's say you made your map too big or too small, and you want to add one block to the right. So let's say I put this here, and I don't like the position of that. So I want to shift the map, and I want to shift it 5 to the left. And I click units, events, and all that stuff. That'll save the locations of all those things, but also shift the locations of all those things 5 to the left. So this area of the map right here should move probably over in here. I'm going to hit OK, and now it moved. Okay, so that's what that does, and that's most of the stuff in here. Okay, so if you're making a Fire Emblem type game, you would go to database and players, and these are your, oh, my mouse just died. Let me just plug it in. If I can find the correct hole. There it is. Now we're back, I think. Where am I? No? And this. Okay. There we go. So, this is like where you would have your lord and so on, things like that. These are your repeating characters per map. And here you have classes. So they already have a whole bunch of default classes for you. Everything we're going to be making is going to be custom though. Okay, weapons. If you're making some type of game with weapons, this is where you would be creating all that stuff. I use that for my game, Arc Brigade, but for this game, we are not going to be using any weapons. You have items here. I'm not sure if we're going to be using items in this game either. Skills. So this allows you to create various skills. Like for example, this you give the skill to someone here, fixed probability for the attack to always hit. So you can make it a 100% chance. You can make it a 50% chance that you'll always hit. Um, on top of your already normal accuracy, you can do a couple of you can make it so instead of always hit, you can make it always ignore defense. You have a 50% chance to ignore the character's defense, or a few different things. Okay, states are going to be incredibly important, and not just because of what they do as a state. States allow us to trick the game into letting us have the enemy use abilities, and I will show that to you later. It gets a little bit more complex, but it's really not that hard. It's just a little bit of a tricking the system kind of thing. Okay, this is terrain. As you can see here, you can click on different parts of the terrain they already have, and you can see they have different categories. All these are just names right in here, and then once you get into the actual edit terrain, this is where you give the properties of the terrain. So for a plane, the name is plane. It does not add any avoidance to your character, no added defense, no added resistance. You can make it so terrain gives that character that is on it skills. You can make it heal them. Um, if you're using battle cutscenes, you can make it so it gets a certain cutscene for whatever that tile is, or background for whatever that tile is. Terrain groups, I use that for something very specific and very important, but you will see that later. Now, move types. Different units have different types of movement. If you think like Advance Wars, you have infantry move a certain type of way. Uh, Tanks or anything with treads or wheels moves a certain type of distance through terrain. Flying is different. Boats are different. This is where you set all that stuff. So like for plane, uh, I guess whatever is sea, it only takes one movement to cross this terrain. I don't know why that's like that. But like if you see river, uh, in this case, C takes 3 to go across it. I don't know what they're actually thinking with that, but do they have water? I guess that would just be the sea. But and there's certain conditions where this is passable, so that you might only make this passable for like mountain men or something like that, or girls can only cross this bridge, whatever. Um, no types can pass. All this will just flip things back and forth. So you can say no one is able to cross it, or everyone is able to cross it. I'm just going to hit cancel because I didn't actually want to change any of that stuff. I was just showing you where it is. Cancel. Um, okay, so that was terrain in the database. Now you have configuration. Boom. There are lots of options in here in both of these. So you have configure, um, you can have variables, you can set races. There's lots of different things you can do in here. We will get to this when we need to. Configure, this is where you can set your resolution. You can, window title, I don't know why it's just called game. Sample SRPG. We'll call this, what do we call it? Ilia Wars. I'll just leave that as game. Pursuit value. I don't know what, I think that's a Fire Emblem thing. I don't know what that is. Minimum experience, you can set this. I don't plan on using experience in this game, so I'm going to make all these 0. Critical coefficient, I like to set it to about 150%. If something is effective, I like to do 125%. So let's say something is weak to fire and you use a fire sword, it'll do an extra 25% damage. If you land a critical, it'll do an extra 50% damage. Low to high percentage. High to low percentage. I think that has to do with promotions, and we're not going to be doing promotions in this. So we'll just call it 100%. Max stats, your max level can be 30. I'll just set all this to 99. Because that's the max it can be. So I don't mind it being a little high. Movement, we'll say 20. And 0 for those. I don't use those. Other support range. Probably not going to be using that. I'll just leave it at 1. Bonus EXP rate. I don't plan on using bonus experience. Demo map and voice settings. I don't know what that is. Okay. Enable to move to map edges. I don't like that. Enable use of items on the battle prep screen. That's fine. Enable class change on the battle prep screen. I don't plan on using those. Display weapon type on the convoy screen. That's probably okay. Actually, I'm not going to be using weapons, so let's turn that off. Display logo image when map is completed. I don't think I need to do that. Display weight on the item info window. I don't use weight. Okay. The game depends on runtime file. I don't know what that is, so I'm just going to keep it. Keys are needed to open chests. Not going to use that. Enable real battle. I think that is the battle cutscenes. So I'm going to turn that off. Weapon durability is unlimited. I like that. But actually, we're not going to be using weapons. It doesn't really matter. Enable item increase, decrease for guests. I do not want that. Send to convoy when inventory is full. Yes. Experience upon defeat is equal to optional experience of class defeated. I'm not doing experience. Enable class parameter limit. So, I'm not sure what that is. I'm not going to use it. Enable parameter bonus with skill activation. Not sure what that is. Skip weapon select menu when only have one weapon. I do like that. Not that we're using weapons. Game over when leader dies. I think that's okay because we're going to be making our leader a headquarters. Display message when weapon breaks. Don't plan on having weapons breaking. Remove item drop if weapon breaks. Sorry, there's a lot of stuff in here that you should know. It's useful to know where this is. Display effective targets on the menu window. Um, let's turn that on. Display skill activation as animation rather than text. Don't think I need to change that. Display progress when skipping enemy phase. That's fine. Allies always fight on the map. I don't know what that means, but that's probably okay. Parameters with growth rate of 0 can be increased. Not sure how that works, but we'll keep that as okay. We don't want to display weapon level or build. Enemy AI attacks even if attack is 0. That's fine. That's fine. Units can be defeated by turn damage. Yes. Display the background image on the whole screen. I'm not sure about that, but heal player units upon entering battle prep screen. Oh yes, so you don't want to. I like my units to be fully healed after every level. Display bookmark tab when selecting units. Okay, treat movement as 0 if action pattern is wait. Not sure. Display the memories screen as a unit icon list. Display game name on terrain. I don't even know what that is. Thumbnails on loads save screen. That's fine. Enemy AI takes supports into account. I don't know what supports are exactly. Okay. NPC settings, don't need that. Races are fine. I'm not promoting. This one's useful. I don't need to do it right now. Weapon types. Yeah, this is important if you're doing weapons. I did in my other game. Initial information. So starting gold we're going to leave as 0. Initial bonus 0. Initial map. We'll keep it as new map. Initial members, just going to be new unit. Set it to go to base. We're not going to start at a base. Initial items. I think we're okay there. So what we are going to do is we are going to allow injury. We're going to allow criticals. Doubles experience. I don't need that. Allow counterattack. Not sure if I want that. Or no, we're not going to do that. New game plus. No. Display conditions. What is it trying to display? I don't know. Default enable fusion. Parameter correction. Don't think I really need any of that. I don't use New Game Plus. So just so you know, for allow injury, that turns off permadeath. So our headquarters isn't going to die forever if we lose it after the first map. Global switches, we haven't done anything with switches yet. Variables, we haven't done anything with variables yet. Global parameters, I don't know what this is. Fusion settings, this is, for example, if you have one unit rescue one another, or another unit, or for my symbiote character, I had to do a lot of stuff in here, and you have more options on this detail section as well. Transformation, I've used these, for example, if I have a cutscene and I want a character to look like it's sleeping, I would transform that character into another class, which is basically that character on its side looking like it's sleeping. And then if it's done sleeping, I just kind of change the class back and does what I need it to do. Fonts I haven't used yet. Move again. That's sort of like my I did it in a different way where you go to a town and you talk to them, and then once you're done talking you get to go again. It's like that, but for the way I did is I made it so you can use abilities as well. Command string, I believe this lets you do things such as if you remember when I was looking for an item, the option was check the well. I think I added that in here, and then it allowed me to use that um, in that situation. So max item count, I think, I wonder if I can make it 0. Max skill count, 6 is fine. All that stuff is fine. Okay, so I know this was a lot of getting set up. Just a couple more things. I think I want to go to variables. This is important right here. Options, ID variables can be used in unit and item event dialog. I'm going to say yes to that. And we want to be able to see where it says new variable and it has the 0 next to it. You want to be able to see that, and I think that makes it happen. Maybe not. But I have this selected for a reason. Oh, in item event dialog, yes. So for example, if I had 3 uses of heal, the reason why my character says I have 2 uses left is because I put a call out to a variable saying that there was 2 left. Okay. Now in here you have variables. These are super important. This is what makes almost everything work. Next to that you have switches. These also make many things work. These are just on and off buttons that you make for certain situations. Now, all that being said, what are these shop items? And TM is what? Test members? You don't really need those that much. Everything you need is basically what we already looked at, plus events. Events are super important. They make everything work if you want to do anything interesting. Okay, I'm going to stop this video there. I know I didn't actually make the first map, but all that stuff that I went through, we're going to be calling back to it. So if you just want to see a quick introduction to all that stuff, you can just refer to this video. Next map, I promise, is going to be making the first map. So I'm going to cut this here, and I'll be right back.